Bourbon Ball.
Okay, got it. We are live streaming. Okay, we're preparing to live stream, and I will get rid of it as soon as it comes up.
Ooh, watch live now. The Scotchy Bourbon Boys Bourbon Ball.
Okay, there we are. We are live streaming. Okay, we're preparing to live. Right, I gotta find out where we are. So we are live. Get rid of it as soon. I wonder if I just go right back.
Ooh, watch live now. The Scotchy Bourbon Boys Bourbon Ball.
Go back to Zoom. Yeah, we are live streaming. Okay, we're preparing to live. I didn't want to do that. View. So we are live. Get rid of it as soon. I wonder if I just go right back.
Ooh, watch live now. The Scotchy Bourbon Boys Bourbon
I'm
Ball.
sorry. All right, here we go. That's gone. That helps. Go back to Zoom. Boom, we're back up here. I'll go back to full screen. Now I'm going to check it on. I'm going to watch it a little bit. We'll see how many people actually watch on home. Let's go to home. Scotchy Bourbon Boys Festival Podcast. What's live? There we are. Live chat publicly. Oh, we got 2 people watching. How nice is? Oh, it's one of them's probably me.
Yeah, another one's me.
Yeah, the 2 people watching are us.
We're watching our.
We can watch the feed.
I signed in. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, this should be something because we have 1,000 subscribers now. So that's one thing. So we're going there. So I'm going to start recording this meeting. No, I guess I can't record. Oh yeah, I can record on this computer. Here we go. All right, so now we're recording it. So not only are we live streaming it for Office, we got Zoom down there and everything. I'm going to perfect this eventually, but it would be nice if tonight there's more than 2 people that watch the whole time since we went live and we have 1,000 followers on YouTube. Maybe somebody from somewhere will watch us, right?
Absolutely. Maybe somebody will pick us up.
One of the things
I got a couple of followers, I think.
Yeah, of course.
Johnny.
But nobody's chatting. We could chat amongst ourselves.
I can send you a message for my
Yeah, I'll send you.
I'll comment on the post for my.
We'll just be like, oh man, this podcast sucks tonight. Instead of just saying we're talking back and forth. Okay, so this is the YouTube Extra, and it's also the YouTube Live. Welcome everybody on live. If we get maybe another person, it would be awesome.
And an even better evening.
Yes, but tonight's podcast, just to review, is going to be a festival about festivals. We just finished up the Hidden Barn's like in my way here. I gotta scoot that back over there.
I think it looked better the other way. maybe should we get a fan review? Walk.
The 2 people that didn't see that. Yeah, we did. What I wanted to say is that this is the festival podcast. We'll be getting into our normal podcast soon, but we, Super Nash, myself, CT, that I came up with. Chris Thompson's nickname is going to be CT. He's CT. Whiskey went down. Roxy went down. We basically podcasted live from Kentucky Bourbon Festival. We did a barrel pick. We did
a 2-bus tour this year.
Yeah.
3 distilleries.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know what's going on with that. I'm getting some feedback on that. You hearing some feedback? No?
No.
All right, I'll move this over here. It's probably coming from that. We have another watcher. All right, somebody's actually watching. Feel free to comment because this is the start now of there's somebody watching. Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Person on YouTube. Welcome everybody. This is the festival podcast.
Or
right?
the first one besides me and Tiny to be watching live.
Yes. Yes, and we just finished up an amazing 2 weeks. Actually, it was 3 weeks total, but 2 weeks. We went down to Kentucky Bourbon Festival. We got down there the 9th to the 9th to the, what was it? The 18th. We were in Kentucky. We podcasted from Three Boys Distillery. We podcasted from Four Roses Distillery. We podcasted with Lucky 7. We podcasted with Broken Barrel. We podcasted with Michter's Dan McKee. We podcasted with Luca Mariano twice. Francesco introduced Dan Phillips as the new master distiller, and
Mariano.
Yep, and then we saw Jennifer down there. She did, that was a wild time down there. And then also we podcasted with Kenny Coleman of Bourbon Pursuit, which was fantastic. I mean, that's funny because just now tonight, what we're going to do on this is we're going to be you got a chance when we were down at Bourbon on the Banks to review this whiskey collab from the Ohio Distillers Guild, and just now Joe let me see, let's just look at this. Joe Bittinger, I met him, who's from Echo Spirits Distilling.
Okay.
And he basically was the one that turned me on to this collab, and I brought it with me to Bourbon on the Banks. So CT, yourself, Amzy, myself, we all got a chance to give this a really good taste, and we really liked it. So tonight I'm going to barrel bash that. I hope you can remember what it was a little bit, but I'll do that real quick while we do that. And then also what we got here is a bunch of spirits on the you've got what you brought back from the festivals. I brought back what I brought back from the festivals, and the two festivals.
Just a couple of the bottles of what I brought back.
Yeah, just a couple.
Yeah.
I
didn't even have time to pull.
I brought back, I believe, 6 bottles from the festival from Bourbon on the Banks, but you, on the other hand, gave me, although they are open, another 4, which is insane. So that I came back with 10. And then when we went down to Kentucky Bourbon Festival, I purchased 39 bottles and came back with 8 open bottles. So you're looking at 57 bottles of whiskey I've increased my collection by. So that's kind of a crazy ass thing.
I plead the 5th on what I brought back from both festivals combined. It was insane.
I mean, I right now am in possession, due to you, of the old Carter Kentucky Batch 2, correct?
Yes.
I'm in possession of the first batch of
Russell's
13. I mean, some of my favorite bourbon, plus then all the other stuff. We'll get into that a little bit. But let's get this going, right? Would you say?
Right. Yes.
Let's get the actual podcast going. I've got all the music ready to go. Oh my God, it's went to sleep here. Let me get that. Okay, there we go. All right. Wow, here we go. I had it all up here with I just got to get it ready here to go. Yeah, that should be it, right? No, I sent it to myself. All right, there it is. Let me make sure. I'm going to do a test run just to make sure it's all right. Still is. We'll move this over here. I think without knocking something over, I think I can get it over there.
I'll tell you what. I have to rate this this Blue Run 14-year right up there with birthday bourbon.
Where did you even get it?
from my guy in Georgia.
Where?
My guy in Georgia that I like to wheel and deal with.
Oh, the guy that you picked up the Bookers at?
Yeah.
All right. So we could go into that a little bit. All right. So what we're going to do, we got to wait 30 seconds, be a little bit quiet. I wonder if can you share? Is it possible to share this? Welcome to chat. Remember, nope, it don't look like there's any place to actually top chat. Some messages, okay. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's a place where I can share this, does it? Nope, it's a clip and everything, so that's fine. We'll just keep monitoring ourselves on YouTube. It'll save me upload, you know what I mean? This is the festival, and let's get this started.
Yeah.
Drinking bourbon, sipping on some scotch. We get a little wild, but it's sure fun to watch. We love what we do, we're drinking every brew. Man, we talk some shit, but we're telling the truth. Yeah, we're the Scotchy Bourbon Boys, raising some hell and making some noise. Yeah, we're the Scotchy Bourbon Boys, we're here to have fun and we hope you enjoy. We're here to have fun.
Yeah, we're back in the studio. We are the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. Tonight, I am Tiny. This here is Super Dash.
Yeah. Welcome, Tiny.
Great to have you via Zoom tonight. We are also YouTube live. We did something big on YouTube. You know, we're on all social medias, but this past week we went over 1,000 subscribers, so we're right there with subscribers. I don't know how much this is helping us with the YouTube live chats. We're watching ourselves, monitoring it. I think we've had one, but that's a little bit more. It's okay. Hopefully when I put this up coming, going forward, I'll definitely share it to all of the Facebook groups once this gets going. But at the same time, welcome everybody back. This is our first, what would you say, podcast from the studio. Our first podcast out of the studio since for season 4. And that's kind of cool, right?
Yeah, it is.
4. We got Super Nash here in the house. And we are fresh off of, now it's not our first podcast of season 4. This, I believe, will be our 8th. That'll go down on the, in the charts, but it also is right now. What would you say? It's we did 7. Did I believe 9 podcasts from Kentucky. Total
Bourbon Festival.
7 from the festival and 2 outside the festival. 1 from Three Boys Distillery and 1 from Brent Elliott at Four Roses. Which the podcasts were fantastic and phenomenal. I think every one we kind of hit it out of the park. And that's one of the nice things about what we did at Kentucky Bourbon Festival when we were down in Kentucky. But let me throw it out there. Scotchy Bourbon Boys, www.scotchybourbonboys.com. Check us out on there. There's all our merchandise. There are our Glen Cairns for sale. There are our Scotchy Bourbon Boys t-shirts for sale. There are Scotchy Bourbon balls for sale. Check that out when you can. We're looking at adding a little bit more merchandise going forward. But then
And
also
these are the Scotchy Bourbon balls, which are freaking delicious.
you're
And
just
probably illegal with all the bourbon that's in them, but we won't talk about that.
No, not at all. And so then the Scotchy Bourbon Boys also are on all major podcast formats. Ask Alexa or Siri to play the Scotchy Bourbon Boys, and they will. We are also Spotify. We are on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Deezer, all the different podcast formats. Wherever you listen to, we're there.
And that's where you can use that hands-free device while you're driving down the road. You don't have to get in trouble. Just ask Siri or Alexa to play the Scotchy Bourbon Boys, and bam,
there you go.
On the way.
And then also we are on social media everywhere, and we're kind of owning it lately. We are on Facebook. We have a Facebook group getting close to 1,000 strong. I believe today we went to 995. So we're getting close to that 1,000th member. And when we do that 1,000th member, we are going to do a bottle raffle giveaway. Once we hit that 1,000th member, we will let you know what the bottle is and what you have to do. Then also, please check us out on TikTok. We're starting to do well there. Also, we are on YouTube. We're here right now. And then also YouTube Shorts are really kicking it off, along with the Facebook Reels. We're also a Facebook page. And then also check us out on Instagram, because I've been pushing Instagram too lately. So really pushing there, and Twitter. So all those different formats for social media, we're really kind of starting to take off. And we really kicked it off at the festival, wouldn't you say, when we started that?
Especially at Kentucky Bourbon Festival. Yeah, we were really getting out there and talking with a lot of people and meeting a lot of people. I met people from Australia, met a couple of people from India that were over there, and a couple of people from Japan that all follow the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, it's really cool at both festivals, at both Bourbon on the Banks and Kentucky Bourbon Festival. Our notoriety is getting to the point where when we go there, when it was really cool when we were walking through the line for media access to the Bourbon on the Banks. I mean, what was it? 10, 11 people, Scotchy Bourbon Boys, we're walking up there. It just makes you feel kind of a little bit special, right? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it does.
A cool thing.
Every time. Yeah,
and
pretty cool.
So we go about that was something. And tonight's podcast is going to be about the festivals. We'll talk a little bit about, they're two vastly different festivals. And the Bourbon on the Banks, when it comes to the type of festival that they were, Amzie Wenning, Diane Strong, and Renee True all kind of came on the podcast, told us about it. They put together this event. And this event is like, when it comes to this type of whiskey festival, and you see these types of festivals all across the country for all different things. You see it in crafts. You see it when I went to Beck's Mill to visit Alan there, and he was doing the distilling thing. There's little people are set up in tents, and they're selling their wares, and they get together, and it's that type of almost like, it's like a whiskey farmer's market, right? Mm-hmm. That's kind of like it is. But when it comes to the whiskey farmer's market, this was like the best whiskey farmer's market. It was long.
This was like
there's a lot of different people there. Some people's tents were constructed like Luca Mariano and Bourbon, the Bourbon Road. they had some, really well constructed tents that they must take to different festivals and do
Yeah.
those different type of things. Actually, the Bourbon Road had a tent there that was similar to the tents that everybody had at Kentucky Bourbon Festival, right?
Yeah.
So
It
but
was
a
huge.
lot of the
They
people,
had an actual lounge and a bourbon bar and
Yeah.
all, and merchandise
and
in the area and everything.
the cool thing about what they did is they get all this bourbon, and they
Mhm.
really have, they can't drink it all because they get so much. So they got basically a bourbon tasting. You could taste whatever they got, and they just
Yeah.
bring it, and it's phenomenal.
Yeah, and I
They're
mean,
just sharing their bourbon.
what a lot of people consider allocated stuff that they can't ever see or get a pour of. They had it out there on the table for anybody and everybody that came up to the festival to get a taste of, and it was so unique, and that was one of the unique tents and vendors at the festival, I thought.
Yeah, the vendor aspect of the relaxation of that festival was a little bit different than how the Kentucky Bourbon Festival was set up. They're
Yeah.
vastly different.
Yes.
But, if you want to get in, then you get into Randy Prassi, our El Presidente of the Scotchy Bourbon Boys, and also the president of Kentucky Bourbon Festival. He freaking killed the festival this year. I mean,
Yeah. One of the best ever.
I mean, this is not the two festivals. You really can't compare them at all. One's a one-day festival. They basically both deal with whiskey. I mean,
Mhm.
but the Kentucky Bourbon Festival, the bourbon aspect is obvious. The VIP aspect is an unbelievable experience. I mean, they've got for their festival is 3 days and one night. So, three Thursday night, all day Friday, all day Saturday, and all day Sunday.
Yep.
And they run all the festivals were over at 6. Bourbon on the Banks was, I believe, early access was 1 to 6. 2 to 6 was the regular access, and we were able to get in there at what, 12:15?
12 o'clock, 12:15.
Yeah, 12:15 we showed up and whatever, and that was enough for that day.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like we needed more time. We were able to do what we needed to do.
The lines weren't very long at all,
Oh, no, not at all.
And all, I didn't hear anybody complain about any lines or anything. It was a very beautiful day, nice breeze right there beside the river and all. So the weather was perfect for us for that.
Right, the weather was perfect for both festivals.
Yes, absolutely.
And but the one difference between the two festivals is that the access to who we got access to at Bourbon and Beyond was completely different than the access that you get to at Kentucky Bourbon Festival. Kentucky Bourbon Festival gets you access to Fred and Freddie No. It gets you got us access to Dan McKee. And it got us. We were talking to the owners. Seth was there from Barrelcraft. We were talking to the owner, basically the owners and the distillers. The people
just about every distillery.
Right. Now, not that. I mean, Alan Bishop. This one was Kentucky Bourbon Festival, and the Spirit of French Lick isn't. And Bourbon on the Banks is not just Kentucky whiskey. So you can be from other areas, and there were distilleries from other areas.
Oh yes.
And, but the one cool thing was
we had them from Louisiana. We had them from Tennessee. They were from all over.
Yeah, and we had access to Alan Bishop showed up.
Yeah.
So that made it a whole different experience in itself from our personal level. But when it comes, Alan is definitely similar getting access to different distilleries at Kentucky Bourbon Festival. But at Kentucky Bourbon Festival, I felt that no matter where you went, Lucky Seven, you were JP and Michael were there, and then you've got Seth from Broken Barrel, and then you had Dan McKee, you had Greg Schneider, everybody that we were getting access to, we were having access. Luca Mariano at Bourbon on the Banks had Jennifer Brandt, and Jennifer's nothing to whatever, she's their master blender.
Yeah.
But you also had at Kentucky Bourbon Festival, not only did you have her, but you had Francesco, you had Dan Phillip, you had everybody there. So Kentucky Bourbon Festival in that 3-day capacity, who we got to talk to, Steve Nally, you were just seeing Brent Elliott was there.
Yeah, Brent Elliott. The list goes on and on.
Kenny Coleman and Ryan Cecil from Bourbon Pursuit, and also Pursuit United. And then now we did see Chad and Sarah at the Kentucky Owl event, and then walking around Kentucky Bourbon Festival. But Chad and Sarah at Bourbon on the Banks had a tent, and they were selling their t-shirts. And all I got to say is it was very nice to be able to pull a 3XL hoodie for Drink More Bourbon from it's Bourbon Night and from Chad and Sarah. So they were able to supply us with what we needed as far as t-shirts. I would say at both festivals, they were so popular that 3XL, anybody going to the festival in the future, the first thing you should do is buy a 3X. If you're a big guy like me, you should just go buy the t-shirts first. Skip the bourbon, just get to the t-shirts. There was more bourbon to have, you know what I mean, than there were t-shirts. So, but then you can get into the whiskey aspect. I mean, honestly, I think Kentucky Bourbon Festival this year just scratched the surface of what this is going to mean to collectors. I mean, Heaven Hill was serving up.
Yes, that was another thing that this year collectors were.
You were able to
sell bottles.
I was able to purchase this through Rattle and Snap. This is their introductory, which they had a 4-year, but this is their 8-year. This is one and done. This is going to be something. And Wally Dance signed that to us, and Log Still Distillery is our sponsor, and we love, and Wally, look for when I actually shared this pour with Wally right there at the festival. That's coming up in a future YouTube video real soon. And then Dan McKee brings this limited edition single barrel straight rye, which was fantastic. Sandy No, this was for sale the whole time. This one is the Colonel, but also was the Hayden's Creek, Hardin's Creek. Hardin's Creek. That's the James B. Beam, and then the other one was Jacob's Well, right? And I haven't tasted that yet, but then so there was all this access, plus there was was it 20 19 single barrels, whatever. This was the single barrel. This is the Knob Creek one. That was the single barrel. I picked that up. The other single barrel that I picked up was the Chicken Cock and the Rabbit Hole. Now, I was on the pick. Yep, you got that particular rabbit hole. My rabbit hole is right back here with the Chicken Cock right behind me, but nice.
Yeah,
those were really nice picks. Now, so you had and then also there was the little book, right? I got this here. I'm going to show everybody. I took the thing from Kenny Coleman because I'm using it as my microphone stand, but here it is. And one of the things that the night of the Jim Beam dinner and barbecue event that they had there, we actually went back with Sandy No and Fred and Freddie and had our bottles signed by, if you look in there, I believe, can you see that? Yep. You can see it right there, right? Fred and Freddie No.
Yeah.
They signed it. It was pretty cool experience. I mean, overall, the access of what we got access to, right? Would you not say that that was just insanely amazing? Yeah. Luca Mariano.
The
We
single,
both
but
picked one of those up, right?
the
I've
signature.
got that too right back there too. Sitting
Yeah.
there. I picked up 2 Blue Notes. So the access to bourbon at Kentucky Bourbon Festival was insane. Now, when we went to, I have to admit, when we went to Bourbon on the Banks,
Oh, this was another good one.
yeah, you got that, and then you also went home with that Ohio one too, didn't you?
Yeah, sure did.
Nice. So when we went to Bourbon on the Banks, the bottles I came home with from Bourbons on, I have to admit, I was in bourbon shock when I went because it
This
only
was
been 2
another one
weeks.
too.
Yeah, that one I recommend anybody pick up.
Yeah.
That is something that's delicious. It's inexpensive, $39.99 or $42.99 or whatever. I like the Wiseman
in North Carolina, and they're
Yeah,
they're a controlled state. So
we've talked about the Wiseman before here on the show, and it's fantastic. Now, so the Bourbon on the Banks, you didn't quite have the same access, but what you did have is a really cool single barrel pick, which you were talking about. You got was the Wilderness Trail pick that John Waddell,
yeah,
Alan Bishop, Kelly was on, Macaulay, and then also I believe Amzie. So they all went on a barrel pick at Wilderness Trail with Macaulay and picked out one specific bottle from Wilderness Trail for the festival.
yeah, for the Bourbon on the Banks, right?
For Bourbon on the Banks. So I know that I pretty much was Wilderness Trailed out. I got to taste it. It was delicious. There's no doubt about it. But at the same time, you picked one up, and so did CT. So that was kind of cool through me. So I got to.
It was good. I liked
actually have. Yeah, I liked it too. I liked what I got out of it.
it.
Anyways, so those 2 festivals were phenomenal. We had access to both. I would say the main difference is Bourbon on the Banks is a really nice on the river, go for an afternoon, have a damn good time, taste some good whiskey, but most of the distilleries sent their reps. We were talking to a lot of reps. We weren't talking to the ownership, although I have to admit, we were talking to the ownership when it came to what was it? Foregate. So there's a couple places that weren't at Kentucky Bourbon Festival that had their ownership there. But I would say maybe
Brothers had their ownership was there representing.
And same thing with Casey Jones. That was a really cool interview to meet. You know, the distiller now, who is the grandson, and he, and got so you got some access to the micro distillers or the craft distillers. There was access to that, especially the ones that didn't do Kentucky Bourbon Festival. But at the same time, there was probably, I would say, of all the people there, 15% access, and then 85% marketing and getting to taste you tasted it, but you didn't have someone there that was directly related to what was going on. Like now at Kentucky Bourbon Festival, I think in the 3 days, all the different, there's 49 distillers there. I think pretty much almost I would say it was 95% access to the people who make the whiskey and own the whiskey. You had access to wherever you were going. At one point, you had access to those people, whether it was on Bourbon, whether it was
and that's what that event is designed to be, is around those people.
Right.
That's what it started out at. As Greg was telling us way back in the beginning, It just started out over there, right down the road, at the campground area there, just about, and picnic area. That a few of the distillers got together after work on a Friday, and everybody just brought a few bottles and set them there on top of the table, and brought a little bit of something to eat and drank whiskey and just told stories.
Yeah, but it wasn't. And then it kind of grew into a beer festival,
Yeah.
and kind of like what was going on.
Well, that's when the
with Bourbon
distillers
at the
started
Bank.
bringing in their families, and it became distillers and their families,
Right.
and then
But the bourbon was like secondary. It was
and
a
then
bourbon festival, but it was
became like
the
a carnival.
music, the local bands were playing, and they were, everybody was drinking beer and eating from the food trucks, and there was the barrel race, but it was more of a carnival thing, which was similar to Bourbon on the Banks. I mean, Bourbon on the Banks probably had a feel somewhat to what Kentucky Bourbon Festival was to the bourbon, like that 2019. There's a couple of the places that had some nice builds and some blow-ups, like Jim Beam and whatever. But for the most part, they were small tents, and you just didn't get that access aspect of professionalism that you get now with Kentucky Bourbon Festival. And I think Randy said they had over $800,000 in tents. The tents are supplied to the distilleries, and they're supplied to the vendors. They supply the tents. In this case, on Bourbon on the Banks, you supply your own tents. There's a way to get tents, I'm sure, through Bourbon on the Banks, but there was some people that didn't even have a tent. They were just out there in the sun with the table. I mean, they got their spot. So this one's grittier and the other one's more professional, polished, but the experiences are completely different. And both of the festivals, I can't say that I did not have an absolute blast.
Top notch. Yeah.
And then afterwards,
kudos to both teams at both festivals. They both did a good job, great job in both areas.
I don't think either one is competing against each other at this point. I think
it's different experiences. Like I mean, the amount of two different experiences, all centered around bourbon and whiskey, and what more could you ask for?
You can't ask for more. I loved going to both of them. I would have to say I probably enjoyed Bourbon on the Banks a little bit more than I enjoyed Kentucky Bourbon Festival, as far as personally being able to participate.
Yeah,
because we didn't have our own tent at Bourbon on the Banks. We were doing interviews with our iPhones. And you still owe me a couple more of those interviews. I need those for the final cut. I'm just going to basically take cuts of them all, pieces, and put them all together as an awesome thing. And you, Super Nash, really.
Just let me know. Yeah, just let me know that later. The last one that I sent. Yeah, I'll get right on it.
You don't have to get on it. I'm still far away. I mean, it's insane. I still got all the Kentucky, but I just put together.
I'm gonna have a blast making these reels.
I just put together the new riff barrel pick for Kentucky Bourbon Festival last night. Yeah, the reels are fun as hell. I mean, that's what you got to do. So that brings us, okay, so we really covered that. Everybody knows what it is. But tonight, what I want to do is, Super Nash was, when we were down there for Bourbon on the Banks, I brought this bottle.
Yes.
This comes from the Whiskey Guild of the Ohio Whiskey Guild, and it's a whiskey collab. And this is batch 3. So all the distillers in the state of Ohio are in the guild, and they picked 3 or 4 to get together and make a team of about 10 people. Now, Joe, I want to say it again. I'm going to try and say it. I believe, come on, it's Joe Bidinger He basically works for Echo Spirits Distillery, Echo Spirits Distilling Company, and he has collaborated with 451 Spirits, Cleveland Whiskey, Echo Spirits Distilling Company, and M&O Spirits. So his distillery has, and 3 other distilleries in Ohio came up to make this blend. Now, this is something that they're doing. This is going to be sold at their whiskey festival, I believe. Let's see. Today's what, the 6th? So the 7th. So I believe it's October 15th in the Columbus area. They're doing a whiskey festival for the Guild, and this is going to be sold there for charity. They made 650 bottles. This is bottle 640. It's at 119.2 proof and 59.6 ABV. For instance, the Echo Spirits, I believe M&O Spirits only makes rye. So this is whiskey. It's an American whiskey. So there can be rye in here. There can be bourbon in here from these, but Cleveland Spirits, and this was their wheat penny barrel strength. It's 28.6. Let's give myself some light here, right? All right, it's 28.5, and then 451 Spirits 14.5, Echo Spirits Distilling 28.5, and M&O Spirits 28.5. So 3 28.5s from Cleveland Whiskey, M&O, and Echo, and then a 14.5 from the 451. So we opened this up at after party at the with the Frankfurt Bourbon at the Frankfurt Bourbon Society.
We actually opened it up in the motel room.
Oh yes, we did. You're
Yes,
right.
we did. Yeah, because I wanted to taste it fresh.
Oh, you're gonna.
I never would have remembered it at the Bourbon Society.
You wanted to taste it sober.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
But not fresh. You were referring to fresh as yourself, unlike Alan Bishop's rip on the fresh crack. Did you happen to see that video? I did. Just a shout out to Alan. I did wash my ass before I did this podcast, so I have a fresh crack. Anyways, we have someone watching. So I'm gonna pour this and I'm gonna barrel bash it. And I know you're remembering. I should have probably left you a sample. I don't know why I didn't, but you
think
we were.
Does everybody think that?
Yeah, nobody. But we weren't.
While he was there, and we were in company with each other, and he had an open bottle, and he knew we were going to do this. He should have left Super Nash a small little sample.
I should have.
I could be retasting.
I should have, but you motherfuckers kept me up till 4 a.m. and then it was 4:15 with my head in the pillow because you were snoring. So
I'm blaming it on Spirits of French Lick personnel, and we'll say no more than that.
That is excellent. Let me see. Are we still? Yeah, we're still recording. I didn't lose the whole recording like I did when we did the one at Four Roses. That was fun. Anyways, that we recovered from that, folks. So I'm gonna barrel bash this. This is the barrel bashing system that we have here at the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. We have 4 categories: nose, taste, body, and finish. We find that the taste and the finish are the most important, so you can give up to a 5 in those categories. The nose and the body which are also important in tasting whiskey, but just not as important. If you don't have a big body, but you got great taste and a good finish, or it smells bad and it still tastes good, I'm drinking it. So we give those a category of 4. So you can have a total score of 18, but also if one category is exceptional, we give it a score of a up. We'll give it a possible, the best score you could get is 19 out of 18. So this is our barrel bashing. I've got my bung hammer bashing for the barrel. I do actually have a barrel now, right over here. I've got this Spirit of French Lick. What's better? What sounds better?
The other one.
This one? This one?
Yeah.
All right. That one, that's for that second one is made for Hollywood. All right, so here we go. The nose on this is complex and phenomenal.
And I threw it out there.
Caramely, peppery, a little bit of apple, a little bit of nuts. This is a 119. There is no more ethanol. Now, if you remember when we opened it at first in the room, there was a little bit of ethanol going on, but there is no ethanol after this has been open for a little bit. It's so fall. I mean, honestly, drinking this in the spring or in the or the summer wouldn't be as much as pleasure as drinking this in the fall.
That's exactly what I told you, that it was a holiday pour to me.
Yeah,
because I was getting those apples and those bacon spices, and that sweet peppery cinnamon.
Yeah, caramel, a little pepper. Yes,
the caramel.
Yeah, I would say I'm going to give this nose, as far as I give the nose, a 4. So then,
to me, right off the bat, what did I told you I spelt, and because I was familiar with Cleveland whiskey, that I could tell that there was Cleveland whiskey in it, and all, and that that was reminiscent to me of Cleveland whiskey.
And we did right before we went to Kentucky Bourbon Festival, which is, we didn't even talk. We basically went to Canton Bourbon Festival on a Friday night before we left, which was the 8th, and no, the 9th of September, and we basically got to taste Cleveland whiskey. We got to get it, old fashions made. We got cigars. It was just a fantastic time. It was the opening of a new restaurant called Melange here in Canton. I mean, just a great time. But when it came to Cleveland whiskey, there's some aspects of it that I'm not a huge fan of, but their wheat penny barrel strength was a decent pour out of all the pours that you had.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's taste it.
Wow. I'm sipping on this Maker's Mark that I got.
Holy crap.
It's like a caramel apple.
This is like a cinnamon apple now. Tons of cinnamon. I don't remember getting this much cinnamon before. Those baking spices and cinnamon.
Yeah.
Sweet, maybe brown sugar, a little bit of apple mid palate, and then a nice cinnamony warmth.
Had a nice hug, a real thick mouth feel to it, and hit the sides and everything. Real full bodied whiskey. From what I remember.
It's got a good body, but I'm going to give the body a 3.
Yeah.
And then the taste.
What'd you give it on the nose?
I gave it a 4.
A 4 on the nose?
4 out of 4.
4 and a 3.
This is a long finish, but I'll give 4 and a 3, and then so that's 7 out of 8. 5, no, 7 out of 9. 4 and 3. No, 7 out of 8 because I give it. So I'm going to give the taste a 4. That's 11, and that was out of 5 and 8 is 13. Yeah, 11 out of 13. But I will give this finish. I will give it a 5 because this finish is cinnamony. It's warm. Then there's a little bit of bread pudding, vanilla, and it just goes on forever. It's one of the longest finishes I think I've had in anything from Ohio, honestly. Joe, well done. I give it a 5, which makes me 16 out of 18 on this. I mean, we both agreed, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
that was pretty damn good. Amzi, whoever tasted it, Amzi tasted it.
Yeah.
I think
Chris, CT.
yeah, CT, he liked it. Everybody liked it.
Yeah.
I think when you get everybody liking something like this, I think you've done a damn good job. And I didn't know what to think of it. Actually, Joe told me, well, if you don't like it, please just don't bash it. I'll let you taste it. You know what I mean? But I
Yeah.
have to say, Joe, the Scotchy Bourbon Boys and 3 of us really, really enjoyed this whiskey.
It really surprised me. You know, when you were talking about 4 different distilleries, 4 different whiskeys, you know, and all that, you know, blends and barrels and aging and coming together and blending together, and you get that. Yeah, y'all did a good job.
Yeah,
Great.
I would have to say, good job to the Ohio Distillers Guild.
Yeah.
So that brings us to what I'm planning on doing in one more podcast on the whole experience of this. I mean, so we had the Canton Bourbon Festival, then we drive down, we go to Bourbon 30. I mean, that in itself we met you at Bourbon 30. That's where you know what? Every single time, Super Nash, when we have this anticipation and you're out and about, and wherever we meet, we met at Neely that one year. We met at Buffalo Trace a couple times. It's always such a fantastic experience, that first experience after not seeing each other for a while. And we seem to have such a fucking good time.
And we knock it out of the park no matter what we do.
I think I got his card. I think it was Colton. Is his name? Is that his name at Bourbon 30? Let me just check real quick.
Yes.
Yes, it would. I'm gonna check to make sure, but Colton was there. And that experience was cool. I think that's a podcast in itself. You know what I mean? I had it right here before. Oh my God.
Yeah, I really do. I want to open that
There
bottle.
it is. Cameron, not Colton, Cameron. So yeah,
I knew that's the coolest thing, you know, first time I ever bottled one. But I really want to cut the wax on it and open that thing because I taste.
Yeah. Yes.
I want to taste my blend, you know, after it's done set there.
You did a blend and me and Roxy did a blend and you did a different blend, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That was a fucking blast, honestly.
It sure was.
And then so we, you know, then that's
I definitely want to go back when they have bourbon. All
Sunday,
I had at the time was rise this time.
Well, I'm gonna open one, and I think what I'm gonna open. Did you get your honey one? You got that?
I got one, yeah.
Do you think we should open it just this Woodford Reserve? CT was with us. I've been dying to, after tasting that double oaked. These are some special things. We're not gonna. Gonna undo that neck pour by pouring a little in the glass. It's kind of like, all right. I mean, I don't want to go on too long at each experience, but then, you know, that was Saturday. Sunday, we go to Three Boys, which was fucking phenomenal with Hunter and Walter and Hannah.
Yeah.
We made through Facebook Reels, Hannah made the Scotchy Bourbon Boys world famous, and we made her world famous. I mean, Reels, I think when I checked it today, it was 26.3 million. So one of the cool things that happened, honestly, was that they announced that they were changing their name from Three Boys Farm Distillery to Whiskey Thief Distillery, which makes total and complete sense. So we went there, did a podcast, and that was Sunday. And then after, in between it all, well, we got there and we went to Buffalo Trace and got to visit the gift shop and get some stuff out of there. And then after that, when we got out of there, we had a nice meal at the Bourbon on Main, right?
Yep.
Right. We went to Bourbon on Main. And me and you shared a Pappy 15-year pour, right? Was it Pappy 12 or 15?
15.
Yeah. And that started off, that was Sunday. Monday, my wife says, hey, I need some time before we do anything. Give me a half a day so I can do something with you. I don't want to do anything. Maybe we can go to the forest or we could do some walking stuff. I plan a 2:00 podcast with Brent Elliott at Four Roses and leave the morning open. You just recovered. You rested.
Yeah.
And me and Roxy headed off to Vendome. I get a personal tour of Vendome and end up with my
Whiskey Thief,
which is sitting right back there for my birthday. She takes me to Vendome, gives me a tour where there are no public tours. That's going to be a Facebook video to itself also. Then Tuesday, we drive up to the Spirit of French Lick at 10 o'clock. We freaking do a barrel pick. We pick a William Dalton
Weeded bourbon. Yes.
Weeded bourbon. I don't know. I don't remember how old it is, but this is the announcement that if you are interested in this William Dalton pick, this pick is amazing. This pick is fucking phenomenal. I've been tasting on it because I was able to bring some. They gave me some of it and I brought it back and it's delicious. Then we head over to the Dome, eat lunch over there.
So are we going to call that a short barrel now? William Dalton weeded short barrel.
Yeah, because I'm going to drink half of it before it even gets there. That was unbelievable. I got to use my Whiskey Thief for the first time.
Wow.
Even that apple brandy barrel. I mean, that's on Reels. Over 10,000 views of that one. Then we head off to eat lunch at the Dome, which was amazing there in French Lick. And then we head off and we hit Starlight. I'm dragging my wife's ass across Indiana. We hit Starlight. CT takes me up there. We do a tasting at Starlight. Then you guys went out. You missed a little bit of that tasting because you guys were going on. You and James hit a liquor store. Then we go to Al Papadero's Amore restaurant where he cooks up me and you short ribs that aren't even on the goddamn menu. That was phenomenal. Greg Schneider shows up and has a drink with us.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Head back home, wake up the next morning. Wednesday is Scotchy Bourbon Boys
double Dutch
bus tour, which was fucking phenomenal.
Yes, it was again.
Thank you to everybody that was on that bus tour. That was amazing. Super Nash fell out the bus, and then I fell on top of him. I didn't notice.
And hey, what happened?
But we got pictures of that shit. Sandy No joined us.
I recreated what happened to Jeff last year because
Bo,
our fans wanted it, and then he piled on top of me.
yeah, Bo Cumberland filmed everything. Bo was awesome. Him and his
I
wife
hope he didn't film everything.
Jolie and Andy Kasperzak. I mean, we did that really cool interview at the Bardstown Country Club, which was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Lunch was phenomenal. With the first place we were was at the Bardstown Bourbon Company. Greg Schneider gave us the tour. They didn't have their room booked, upstairs to do the tour, the tasting that he was going to do for us. So we did it in the Spirits Library.
Oh, wow. Phenomenal.
We were doing musical chairs and looking at all these
every time we went around
$12,000 bottles.
Greg was tasting.
And Greg,
we got to see
last year's new make was a year old. We got to taste that. We got to taste the new make from this year. We got 2-year and 4-year, and basically his stuff is getting in his rye. They're using his rye that he put down. They're going to be putting out the bourbon that he put down, not the bourbon that he put down in the special barrels that he did. That's 2 years old now, but the bourbon that he was just putting in barrels right away that he distilled there at Kentucky Bourbon Festival. Yeah. And then let us taste Chanticleer, which was amazing. It was a great.
Chanticleer is French for chicken cock.
Yep. Then, oh my God, this has a 4 nose with a butt up.
Yeah.
Holy
That's
shit.
what I was been trying to tell you.
That is, I hit that. That's a special nose right there.
Well, you taste it.
All right. So we go from Bardstown Bourbon Company. We have lunch at the Bardstown Country Club. It was a grill. And then we go over to Jim Beam Distillery.
Yep.
Meet Sandy No.
Meets us at James B.
And we didn't just get the regular Jim Beam tour. We got the Knob Creek tasting tour. We got to pour out of a barrel, drink that.
Before that even happened, our Scotchy Bourbon Boys, one and only member, the Bourbon Queen, Sandy No, met us right out there at the front door to greet us and go on the tour with us.
Right. And we got
how cool is that?
The brand new tour.
Distillery, and then, the wife of the master distiller, Fred No, go on the tour with you. We
do the whole tour. We bottle our own Knob Creek, pick up our bottles, and Sandy's all with us the whole time, signs our bottles. I got a picture from Randy Pressy, El Presidente. I get a picture from El Presidente of Fred and Freddie signing all the Knob Creek bottles for the VIP on that, that everybody's going to pick up. And I sent him a picture of Sandy, who signed my bottle of Knob Creek, which I don't think I pulled it. Nope, it's right up there. But I've got Sandy's I signed my bottle. What?
She didn't sign my bottle.
She signed the hell out of my bottle. So, anyways,
where was I?
Well, guess what? Where were you? But at the same time, I think you'll be able to do it again.
Yep.
So then we finish up there and we head over to she hops on the bus with us and we head over to
Lux Road.
And there is we do a tour. I get in trouble for doing pull-ups. And then we finish up that. We go out and John Rempke. Yeah. John Rempke. He basically signs all our stuff. I've never had this. This is going to be a special podcast, but there it is. His signature. Plus, I walked away with his card because he wants to be on the podcast. We'll hit that one up coming up in the future. What a wonderful man. Love to meet him. We got to meet the master distiller, and Sandy was there talking with him. They know everybody. Everybody knows everybody in
that was so cool too. I was standing there with Sandy and John, and Sandy was at the counter and she had bought something, and she was going to get a little mini bottle of that Nicholson Reserve and get John to sign it. And I was like, no, that can't happen. And get it signed for Fred, right? So I turned around and got one of those big bottles of that Nicholson Reserve, turned around and got it to John. I said, here, sign this out to Fred No for Sandy. And then he did that. And then I turned around, he gave it to me. And then I turned around and gave it to Sandy. And she looked at me and she's like, oh my God.
You were Super Nash, right?
So
Super
I did.
Nash
I
again.
pulled a Super Nash and I got a bottle signed by John Remke for Fred No for Sandy to get.
That's awesome. All right. So then that finishes up. We head back. We get pizza at our favorite pizza place. You give them a shout out there at Primo's Pizza.
Primo's Pizza and on Main Street in Bardstown, Kentucky. They'll take care of you. Got some of the best pizza around. I have to hit them up every time I go there.
Yeah, for sure. You
Yep.
do. And
Yep.
so do we. I think it was 6 pizzas that we went back. And then there was a whole hell of a lot of stuff with Aaron came back. Josh came back. We had
Whiskey.
CT, Whiskey, and his wife Sheila, and everybody came back to there. We started a fire. Oh, we drank some special stuff that we can't
And
even
we
talk
brought-
about. It
we
was
broke
so
out
special with
Special.
CT brought it in for us. Some damn good stuff. You opened a Booker's that was from my painting,
Yep.
and we probably
1994 batch.
drank half that bottle, I think.
Yes.
And so anyways, I went to bed early that night. And then Thursday we wake up, and Thursday was really unique because we went to the festival, set up the booth. That got set up. Last year we had to deal with a rainstorm. This year there was nothing. The weather was perfect. We got the whole booth set up. Everybody did that. And then at like, what was it? 3 o'clock, we got to go to Kentucky Owls, which is Stoli's premiere of their Japanese distillery.
Collaboration. Yeah.
I believe it's right here. I'm gonna pull it. If I no,
Takumi?
I don't want to pull anything down. Let's see it. We don't want to have any crashing, right? I got it. It is Takumi.
Yeah. Takumi.
And this right here, we
It's,
got to take
Kentucky Owl collaborated with a Japanese distiller, and
which is owned by Stoli.
yeah,
Same-
and they
same company.
basically collaborated and put Kentucky Owl whiskey along with Japanese whiskey and blended it, and that was what they came out with.
Well, I think as a Japanese blender, it was all I want to say
He was a Japanese master distiller.
it's a bourbon. So he was blending bourbon. So
Okay.
it couldn't be Japanese whiskey because then it wouldn't be bourbon.
All right.
So he came over and worked with the now distiller of Kentucky Owl, which he was there. His name is going over my head at the moment. I probably could read the bottle, but if you look, it's kind of a little small there.
Yeah.
But they collaborated to make a bourbon, and that bourbon was the first bourbon I ever had hot sauce on my lips, and it was kind of unique and kind of a cool bourbon. So we got to have them introduce that, plus we got to taste a bunch of other bourbons, see what Stoli is doing as far as their distillery. It's going forward. It's going to be pretty exciting with everything that's happening with
It's gonna
Kentucky
be
Owl.
beautiful and unique. I mean, one of the most unique distilleries around. They're actually going to have floating barges out on the lake where they're going to be floating rick houses on those barges. And,
Oh yeah, excellent.
yeah.
And then that led to Bourbon in the Air, a super event, but we kind of
Yes.
covered that a little bit with the festival. So that catches us up for what we did, but there's going to be a lot more on that as far as content. I wanted to check in. I wanted to do a couple things like right now, since we're recording, I wanted to record a couple intros. So what I'm going to do here is I think we're going to end up the podcast. We can end the podcast right now. I'll have little Steve-O take us out. And then once we end the podcast, I'll save it up. But then I'm going to record a couple intros right on this one for some of the stuff. Like I want to do a intro of Bourbon on the Banks, intro for Kentucky Bourbon Festival that we were at. And then I'm going to basically use those intros for going forward in the future when we put out the video that we captured. And that should, talk about that.
This is pretty good. This
Woodford
Woodford Reserve honey barrel finish that we picked up when we swung by Woodford Reserve Distillery.
What did I do with it?
The day of Saturday, the day of Bourbon on the Banks.
There it is.
Yeah.
I'll have a little bit more. What's the proof?
In the Scotchy Bourbon Boys Glencairn glass.
There you go.
Yes, that is it.
That's a pretty good.
Me, you, and CT all swung by there.
Yes, CT and us. We hit Woodford Reserve there when we were at Bourbon in the Banks.
Mhm.
Plus, then Greg Schneider came up for a tasting up at the Barrel Room. Thank you, Carrie Sullivan, for that. I mean, that was just an amazing event. That night, it was so good and so successful that I decided to drink too much and kind of put a damper on the end of the night. But I don't know how much of a damper it was. You were telling me I was having a lot of fun.
Where did that come from out of left field? Talking about the festival.
Yeah. And then we went to Bourbon on the Banks, and Bourbon on the Banks. We did Woodford Reserve. I mean, we're coming in and Whiskey goes from, just text me. It's like, you really should stop off at Woodford and see if they got one of those special ones. So I'm like, hey, let's head over to Chris. And we all headed over, and they had a honey barrel there. We were
on our way to the festival to go park and check in for media. And then all of a sudden, my GPS was telling me to take a right. And here y'all are taking a left, and I'm running through the yellow light to keep up with y'all going to left. And next thing I know where we're going. We're going to Woodford Reserve, the back roads. Yeah.
Super nice. We had an old fashioned there, relaxed a little bit, picked up this, talked to the people, handed out cards. I mean, it was just an amazing experience. But all right, everybody.
It was probably more of an amazing experience for you because you always go check out the bathrooms at each distillery.
Yeah. I honestly, if you're ever traveling and you think you should stop at a gas station, you have to go to the bathroom. And we're not talking about number one, we're talking about number two here. 100%, if there's a distillery somewhere in the area, go to the gift shop and take a number two at the gift shop, because seriously, folks, there is an underlying thing that the distilleries, when they remodel and they put their $40 million, $50 million remodeling, their bathrooms are in competition with each other. I mean, the bathroom at Castle and Key, the bathroom at Buffalo Trace. I mean, for fuck's sake, at Buffalo Trace, there's a goddamn, you have your own stall with your own sink and mirror. So like if it's in the ladies, they all could blow dry their hair right in the stall and do their makeup. It was just like, holy crap, so honest, seriously, me and my wife are on our way home, and I'm like, we left Three Boys and now Whiskey Thief, and we're like driving, and I'm like, and we're headed to Neely at the time. So I'm like, okay, so as we're going, I'm like, we have to stop at the gas station. I really got to go. And she's like, okay. And then all of a sudden there was Buffalo Trace. I'm like, we're going to pass Buffalo Trace. We're on the road. And she's like, what? I'm like, hey, let's stop at the bathroom at Buffalo Trace. That's what I said. So now instead of finding gas stations to stop, the first thing I look for is a distillery. So all you distilleries, you got to watch out. I'm going to visit your gift shop and take a shit. And that's just the way it is.
So
Plus,
you
I'm
go
going
to
to
your
photograph it. I'm going to
your ways at a stop and find distillery.
And you better get your game up, because the distillery bathrooms at Woodford Reserve, they were in there's a goddamn painting when you walk in. I'm sure I want to go take a shit at Maker's Mark.
Yeah, that's what I was fixing to tell you. Maker's Mark is awesome. They got some hand blown glass stuff in there. I didn't think about how that sounded.
I want my glass blown.
Hand blown glass stuff.
All right, everybody. So I do have up a little Steve-O so he can take us out. And
wait till the little short pick comments come out on this one.
hey, there's actually another person watching. We have 3 people watching. So there was somebody who heard your comment. All right, everybody, not anybody, everybody. We are the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. www.scotchybourbonboys.com, all major podcast formats, and then also on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok. I hit them there.
Siri and Alexa, if you want to go hands-free.
Yep. With your glass blowing.
Hand blown glass.
All right, everybody, remember, good bourbon equals good times, good friends, and go out there and live your life
dangerously. Yes.
Good night.
Good night, everybody. Cheers. All right.
Oh, show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. Show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. For if we don't find the next whiskey bar, I tell you we must die. I tell you we must die. I tell you we must die.
Yeah.
We have stopped recording. Let me quick audio magic this shit. Good job there, Super Nash. We're still recording on Zoom, and we are still on YouTube Live. All right, I'm going to save. Publish to for uploading. Call it.
Thanks, Jeff Mueller, for watching YouTube Live. Really did appreciate you.
Thank you.
And for the one other person that tuned in.
All right, so it's building that. I got that. So let me quick do the intros. I'm going to record it at the end so I can use it. And it's just basically, I want to do an intro to Bourbon on the Banks that we put on. Me and you, Super Nash, are going to, and then also to the Kentucky Bourbon Festival that we're going to take stuff and we're going to put that. And then I'm going to do an intro we'll do an intro to Three Boys Distillery experience that we got a lot of video, and then also where we did the pick, and then also we will do an intro to, we're at Three Boys. I want to do an intro to Vendome, and then I want to do intro, what was the other experience that we got it was Vendome. Oh, the Kentucky Bourbon, the bus tour. I mean, we got a lot of stuff, although the bus tour, I think Bo's going to handle, but I'll still, even if Bo handles it, I'll still do an intro to the bus tour where we do it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So it's just going to be intro. And then we'll go first. We'll do Kentucky Bourbon Festival, Bourbon on the Banks, and then Whiskey Thief Distillery, the bus tour, and then I'll do Vendome. All right. But when I do it, you're a part of the first four, and then Vendome, you know, you're there, but I'll just crop it, just me. Okay.
All right.
All right. So welcome everybody to another Scotchy Bourbon Boys podcast of this time Kentucky Bourbon
Festival.
Super Nash is here with me, and we had an absolutely fantastic time at Kentucky Bourbon Festival. We produced 7 podcasts. We went around the festival, got a ton of content.
Interviewed master distillers from, a ton of distilleries. Tasted whiskeys from all the major distillers and craft distilleries that you could think of.
And then we went to all the events. The event there was a Michter's breakfast brunch on the last day. There was
rabbit hole. Dinner event.
What was that? That was a rabbit hole cocktail out.
Event.
I mean, it was just a fantastic experience.
The James B. Distilling dinner event.
We got to meet so many people there. I mean, Greg Schneider, Fred and Freddie know, Sandy know. I mean, the guys at Lucky 7, Seth from Barrelcraft. I mean,
Kenny from United. Pursuit United.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And it was just an amazing experience. And
yes,
here are just a little bit of what we got to experience. All right, Bourbon on the Banks. So everybody, welcome to another Scotchy Bourbon Boys video of Bourbon on the Banks.
Thanks. Yes.
Bourbon on the Banks was a unique experience. Thank you, Amzie Wenning, Diane Strong, and Renee True for inviting the Scotchy Bourbon Boys to Bourbon on the Banks. Bourbon on the Banks was amazing.
Frankfort, Kentucky. That's another thing too.
Yes,
right downtown, right along the river.
Right on the river. It's kind of like really a cool thing when you come in and you're driving towards Buffalo Trace. There's some apartments that are in primary colors and that you always notice, but you don't look off to the left where the river actually is, and that from down on the banks you can see those apartments. So it really put it in perspective where it was for me. And then we really got to know Frankfort, Kentucky, myself, CT, and Super Nash.
Yep. We all up close and personal. This time we didn't have a booth. We walked around with our iPhones, interviewing the people that were there, the distillers that were there, the vendors that were there, and just had a fantastic day out there. I did.
Oh, it was an absolute blast.
Yeah.
Different experience because at Kentucky Bourbon Festival, we were podcasting and in work mode. And so you feel like, although you got to experience a lot of stuff there, it wasn't like you were one of the people experiencing it as an experience. You were experiencing it as media, and you were working your ass off. Whereas Bourbon on the Banks, although we were media and we were working, the work was happening as if we were experiencing the festival. So it was a really kind of a cool thing for us, but very different. And we, I would say we had an absolute blast finding out even about the rest of Frankfort. I mean, we've been to Frankfort at Buffalo Trace before. We've been to Bourbon on Main before, but we really didn't experience what Frankfort has to offer, and we were able to do that. But here is a little bit of what we experienced that day.
Yeah, and just Hope you enjoy it. Something like what we did.
Cut. All right. Welcome everybody to another experience that the Scotchy Bourbon Boys had at the Three Boys Farm Distillery, which is now, because when we went there, it was Three Boys.
It was the Three Boys Farm,
but now it's Whiskey Thief
Distilling. Yes.
Walter Hunter.
Walter Zau.
Yep. And Hunter Coffee. And Hannah Anyways, okay. Hannah was she is now famous based off our experience. 26.3 million real views from the experience, but this is just a little bit of what we experienced that day at the Whiskey Thief Distillery.
Yes.
Cut. All right. The next one was 4 would have been welcome everybody to the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. This is just our version, Super Nash and mine, and what we experienced on the Scotchy Bourbon Boys bus tour
with the Kentucky Bourbon Boys.
Yes, with Roger
Baccato,
and Roger really hit a home run on this one. I would say 2 bus tours, 2 bus
loads,
double barrel bus tour.
Yeah.
As I said before,
there was actually 22 of us, and we had to take 2 buses to the two short buses.
And not everybody knew. It's like the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. Everybody did not know everybody on this bus tour. And it was a freaking blast. Everybody got to know each other. We were able to go to many different distilleries. We picked up Sandy No along the way, dragged her to Lux Row. But this bus tour, we went to Bardstown Bourbon Company, had a tour and tasting with the master distiller of Chicken Cock Whiskey and our good friend Greg Schneider. Then we went for lunch at the Bardstown Country Club. We left there, went to the Beam Distillery, had their Knob Creek bottle your own experience with Sandy No, and then we went to Lux Row, had their tour, and met with John Rumpy afterwards, signed our bottles, and then the next day we were there, and I actually got to experience Michelle Lux, and so there's a bunch of stuff that we recorded and talked about, and you're about to see what that bus tour and that experience was. It was freaking amazing.
Yes.
All right, so we got the bus tour. Okay, welcome everybody to the Scotchy Bourbon Boys second ever barrel pick, which this barrel pick,
oh my gosh, yes,
fucking amazing.
The first for Super Nash at the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. Yes,
but this Scotchy Bourbon Boys barrel pick was special because we are talking about Alan Bishop
of Spirits of French Lick Distillery and Winery in West Baden Springs, Indiana, which is our sponsor of the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. Yes, we went there. A group of us.
It was amazing.
Yes.
We pulled in 10 people. CT,
whiskey,
rock. No, whiskey didn't come to that.
Oh no, it didn't.
Roxy, CT, Super Nash, myself, Aaron, and Josh came down. James came down. Yep. It was an amazing barrel pick with Alan Bishop. Now, Alan was hungover, and he explained to me that he couldn't believe what happened on this barrel pick. But we had Brooklyn, and then also Laureline, Dottie, and And it was an amazing pick. We ended up being able to pick from 3 Lee W. Sinclairs, 3 William Daltons, and
And a Matty Gladden.
and 2 Matty Gladdens.
2 Matty Gladdens, that's right.
And it wasn't hard for me because when I went there, I knew what I wanted from the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. I wanted the William Dalton wheated, and there was a barrel that was exceptional. And this is
A
something
Matty
that
Gladden that was exceptional, but they could not find it.
But no, that was actually, it was a Lee W. Sinclair that they wanted. But at the same time, that was exceptional in one way, but the William Dalton was exceptional. So the Lee W. Sinclair, in my opinion, was if you're talking about a 3-tier look, it had one tier that was, the taste was phenomenal. The nose was okay. The finish was okay. And it wasn't complex, but it was a delicious barrel. There's no doubt it was the barrel that you would, but the William Dalton was not far behind in taste.
And
it had
what you'll find out
unbelievable nose
in this podcast is coming up.
And the finish was fantastic. And you can find everything you want to know about this pick on this
podcast.
Yep. All right. So the last one. Now this is me. Okay. So welcome to another edition of the Scotchy Bourbon Boys video podcast, specifically for YouTube. This was the tour that my wife took me on. Roxy took me on a surprise tour that I had no idea what was going to take, of Vendome copper still plant. The Vendome copper, they make copper stills for the industry. They are the benchmark for copper stills in Kentucky and the world. They make stills everywhere, and they don't give out public tours, but I had asked my wife prior for a whiskey thief. I know how much they are. They're copper and they're expensive, but I decided that's what I wanted for my birthday. Had no idea this was going to happen, and here's the day of how it happened. All right, so we got it. And I'm going to stop recording, everybody. Let's do the stop recording. And we're going to go off YouTube Live. Yeah. Let's go.